Our speaker for tonight is Rozada of Techno Creatives. I first saw him, I believe, on stage at the TEDx. What was it, one or 2 years ago?
That was 1 year ago, I think.
Yes.
Almost 1 year ago.
So, Joel will probably introduce himself a little bit more, but here's a guy who is not afraid of a challenge, shall we say. I believe last time you were with us, you told us if it's not a huge problem, it's not worth it. So he believes in making an impact, making a dent in the world through entrepreneurship. He's done so in many ways over the last 10 plus years, correct?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Okay. And let the magic begin.
So when you're ready, take over.
And this one, do you need to turn it on here or should I take time? Mike, do you hear me?
I will. No.
15.
Does it work for you? No. Right now.
Ooh, look at that. All right. Does it work? Yeah. I was the one who wrote beer. I wanted to have beer. And I'm the only one having a beer, I think. Cheers, guys. All right. My name is Joel Rozada. I'm born in this city. My name was Joel Sandström before, but then I married a very beautiful girl, and she had the name Rozada, and I couldn't say no to a Z. So I took her name. I think I'm an entrepreneur. I think I classify myself as an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, you're always on the way somewhere. You're walking, you're going somewhere, or actually you're actually running somewhere, because there's quite a lot of places to go to, like this one, or you're running your companies and you're meeting people. So you're running, and you're always working. So you're running and working. This is the life of an entrepreneur, and even running at this level, because you need to work quite a lot. And before I said that you should be prepared to work 20-30 hours to do this if you want to become an entrepreneur. I think you can add some time to that, actually. I think you should be prepared on working a little bit more. But it's very fun. It's the best thing I ever done. Actually, I haven't done anything else, so this is basically the only thing. I worked 6 months at Volvo for many years ago. And during that time, I started up a company, and since then, I've been working. I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship. And I was told that this event is about starting an impactful company in Gothenburg or something like that, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. How many of you guys are getting a monthly salary? How many is not getting a monthly salary? Paid or yes, that's good. Then you're motivated.
Question.
Yeah.
Does CSN count?
Sorry?
CSN, does it count?
That's a good base. That's a good base. You can use that to get some work. It's actually good. Okay, I'm going to talk about 3 things here. I'm going to talk about work-life balance, because that's important, and people talk about work-life balance. And I'm going to talk about it's the thought that counts. Yeah, right. And the Silicon Valley way. Have you heard about that? And you will hear about it quite a lot. So I will try to take some knowledge I gathered during 13 years of entrepreneurship and running different companies. I started so far, I think, 18 or 19 companies. My wife actually started one more company. So she's leading. And we've done quite okay. Not with all the companies, but quite okay. But I'm going to start with this one. So the work, basically, I'm running this company, the Techno Creatives. Anyone heard of Techno Creatives? A few. Ooh, that's good. Nice. I like that. And we're running the company here in Gothenburg. We have a studio in Gothenburg with a number of people, and I also have a studio in Shenzhen. I've been running companies. I started a company called Can Apps in Tallinn, Estonia, which was a tech company. That's one of the few companies I actually managed to sell once. And then I've been running, Can Apps had a studio in Gothenburg and one bigger studio with a number of people in Tallinn. And we tried out to start up a studio in New York and so. And we also started a company in Stockholm. And we found out that Stockholm is as far away as anything else. Stockholm is a different city, it's a different culture, it's very different from Gothenburg. Gothenburg is very heavy industry. It has its own investor network, or it basically doesn't have an investor network, but it's its own city. And Stockholm is very, very different. And if you go to the capital days here in Gothenburg, many of the big investors in Stockholm, they're not even bothering getting here. That's the difference it is. So basically you can start anywhere. So we thought, first of course, we thought of Silicon Valley and San Francisco and New York and so on. And then we thought of, why go there? Everybody else is already there. And all the big companies, they're already there. So we thought of China. And China is quite fun and interesting and different. So we started up in Shanghai. And this year we moved the studio in Shanghai to Shenzhen. And this is Shenzhen. This is a beautiful city. If you haven't been to China, how many have been to China? How many have been to China the last 10 years or 5 years? Something like that. China is moving very, very fast. And extremely fast. And when you go there and then you compare to New York, it's a different world. And it really looks like this, or even more. This is like the suburbs. So if you go to the city center, all the skyscrapers are animated already. And you have the horses running around on the skyscrapers. And it's really a different world. It's fantastic. Go there, it will open your mind. Many things are wrong with China, we know that. But many things are right at the same time. They are building here in Gothenburg, we have one electric bus lane. In Shenzhen, they have 16,384 electric buses.
And can you talk a little bit what you're doing with your company?
I will do.
Okay.
So, this company, we are about 50 people. I own this company to 100%. So I can do basically whatever I want with this one, as long as I pay salaries. And that's limits a little bit what you can do with it. We're about 50 people. We do these things. We do design, technology, and business. So we can do business logic. We understand how organizations work. We understand how business logic works, how products work. And we do technology. We can program stuff. We know full stack. So we can go from an analog signal up to an application or an app, a mobile app. And we are competitive when it goes to more complex things. If you want to transform a washer machine into an espresso business model, that is that you sell the machine very cheap and you sell these expensive little pods to it. Then we can do it. If you want to build an app on an existing API to something, many people can do it. But when you go into this more hardware, software, design, business, then we are quite competitive. And we've been working with many of the, quite a lot of heavy industry. So I know a lot about heavy industry. If you want to know anything about how heavy industry works, please talk to me. I can answer quite a lot of questions. It's a lot of automotive industry. That's why we're from this city as well. And it's a quite successful company. We win a couple of Red Dots and design awards, and it's growing well, and it's a healthy company. And that's the base to actually start something, that you have some money to do it. We do cars, for example. We are part of the split for Autoliv that they built at Veoneer. I couldn't say that we did the split, but we are actually, a lot of the stuff you can find in the investor deck for Veoneer is coming from my company, and it's coming from projects I've been working on heavily. So this car is, for example, called Leap. We have been working with this for many years, and we present the next one at the next CES this year. Or we do interior design, or we do actually not do the interior design. We do all the digital parts of the car. But instead of talking about pictures of what we do and so, I thought of more of, okay, how do we do stuff? Because that's what you guys are going to do. Because I don't think you're going to start a consultancy and start competing with me, or it's okay, because there is a big world out there. It's a quite good way to actually start a company, to do some consultancy, because you get quite a lot of pay, right? You get that, use that money to do something. So the culture. This company I'm running, we are 40 nationalities right now. And we're moving people directly to Sweden from all over the world. And we're finding people in South Korea or China or India or US, Silicon Valley, Latin America or Europe. And we're moving people here to Gothenburg. Because Gothenburg is quite unique. Gothenburg and Sweden is quite unique because you have healthcare and you have the schools and everything. And it's a very different society. So not everybody, but a lot of people want to go somewhere different. And then they want to go to Sweden. So we're using that, and we're finding talents, and we're moving them here. And quite often the talents is calling their friends and say, oh, don't you want to go here? So I'm renting quite a lot of apartments in this city. I do. This city is quite easy to find apartments in, if you compare to many other parts of the world. And it's quite cheap as well. And even the salaries is quite cheap here. Compared to Shenzhen, to this place, it's much more expensive to find people here than there. The salaries is much higher in Shenzhen than in Gothenburg. That's China today. So it's cheaper to find them here. And I think the culture of a company is, I like that you do stuff yourself. So this is how it looks when you're setting up a little booth at a conference somewhere. Yes, you can order everything and can get everything done, but it doesn't, that's not the point. The thing is that if the people is doing stuff together, and if they're actually building stuff, then you're learning something and you're getting the team together. So I don't like when you bring in, for example, interior designers and you let other people mount your IKEA tables and stuff. You should do that yourself. You should instead order some pizza and a few boxes of beer and then do it. Because this is something that's building the culture. You're able to solve the problem. Otherwise you're sitting there and running a company and being an entrepreneur is all about solving problems, because you're going to get problems all the time. It never ends. Oh, you don't see anything because of the lamp here, but basically having parties is also a good thing. If you look around the world, all people like to party. Not all people, but the people you want to engage with, they usually like to party. And having parties is a very good way also to build your network. And I think that's why people come here also. It's nice to meet other people, to mingle and to chat and to learn something. So we are spending quite a lot of that. This is the studio we have here in Gothenburg. We built a stage because we're hosting a lot of events like this one. It's a good network. We're sitting together. It's the developers and designers and tech people. We have a constant beer fridge at a bar. Beer is a good thing for company. Coffee is a good thing for company. So we're spending some money on that. We have some rooms for strategy. And a little bit more, not the usual conference rooms. We found out that this hiring people is very important. So we spent some money and built a climbing gym. Because anything you can get, anything you can do to get people to get interested and work for you is something you should spend money on. Instead of spending 100,000 crowns on a recruiter for one employee, you can build a climbing gym for 100,000 crowns. It's sort of, or maybe 200,000 crowns. Sort of the same thing. And then we have another floor. Oh, it's closed, but we have some more conference rooms. We have full dressing rooms, so you can go training. Training is a big thing. We have a few of these locked ones where we can seal projects away, or we can have people if they want to not be part of the rest. Focus a little bit, and then we sit together. Tech, designers, is a mix everywhere, and there's a lot of technology everywhere. I think that is important to live with your products and live with the technology. This is how an app looks for us. So, and then in the end, we're working with virtual reality and augmented reality quite a lot. Another app, which is a big pump, for example. We're building quite a lot of rigs to test stuff. And I think this that when you get into an office, you should see and understand what people work with. I have another company working with bookkeeping. This is laser cutters, and that's a 3D printer. And we bought some new machines too. And if you put stuff together, and people like to work, and if you give them a laser cutter, they will find something to do with a laser cutter. And you shouldn't just go for the need for it, because sometimes you feel that, okay, they're going to use this. The stage is one of these things. We just built the stage. And then it turns out that they want to have people on the stage, so they're hosting a lot of tech meetups. And how many have been to a tech meetup at our place? There's a few. You see, it works. It's quite good. That was a little bit about the company. Do you understand what we do? Sort of? Okay, good. Life is the other big thing about work-life balance, if there is a balance. This is the one I'm sharing everything with. That's my wife, Emma. And we're running all the companies together. And we started the company together once. And since then we quite soon come up with the idea that we should always stick together in the same company, because otherwise we will start competing. And we'll have two very good companies, but a very not so healthy family life, I think. So we're always working in the same one. And the company looked like this for a number of years ago. And we were actually on, not this street, but the Södra Långgatan. I think it's one street up here, like 100 meters away. So we had this one, and you could see there were like 6 computers in the middle. It's not that big. And during this time, you work a lot. Starting up a company, you're working a lot. How do you think you work 100 hours a week? Would that be possible? You only do 16 hours a day, and then you can do 10 hours on Saturday and 10 hours on Sunday, and then that's 100 hours. So you can actually work 100 hours. And starting up a company, most of the people I know who started a company, they, not every week, because that definitely doesn't work, but at least one week, they end up with this figure, that you do work. And on Wednesday, you're walking to work, and you're like, oh my God, I've been working 40 hours already. And it's just happened. And then you get a family, because there's a work-life balance. And this is my son. He became a very early adopter, Apple adopter, and learned how to use a keyboard quite early. And I also got a little daughter. She became a strategist quite early. And you can bring them along. We've been having kids and working for, I don't know, 300,000 years or something. And then for the last like 50, 60 years, it's been an issue with kids and work. But the time before that, and I think that the time after that, kids do work. It's all fine. If you pay them, it's illegal, but if you just bring them, it's fine. And you can bring them along. People they will adapt quite fast, and you can bring them along. It's fine. That guy is one of the chief designers at Volvo, and this is actually that's a competitor, and that's the design director of the Design Institute in Umeå, and that's my son. And this is the Chinese wall. So we were there on a conference, and we're like, fine. They take him and like, yeah, that's fine. It's just life. Entrepreneurs are like normal people. It's fine. And then we also bring them later on. So this is one of a meeting we had like a year ago, I think, or maybe 1.5, at the dinner. They're not usually at the dinners like that, but sometimes they had to. And because me and my wife is running the companies together, we need to bring the kids. Otherwise, we wouldn't meet our kids. So we took them along at this representative dinner, and they're fine with that too, because they're jet lagged. So this is the middle of the day for them. That's quite good. US would never work because they would be sleeping in the night. And I think that it's important to find joy in life. And if you're having kids and if you're having a family, you should bring them along, make sure they're having a good time. And they adapt quite fast. It will work. And if you don't have a family, and if you're working, how many is having a family, by the way? A few. So most of you people are not having a family. Then, when you're running a company, bring the adventure there. Do the same thing here. If you have an opportunity, so I actually bought these 2 boats once, because there were 2 broken boats. I didn't tell my friends that they were broken, but they were broken. And then I put all the better parts on one boat, and I sold the other one. So I had 2 boats for a few weeks. And then at the same time, we had a big Gothenburg ship coming to Gothenburg. So of course we took the boats and all the people and a few beers and went out and had a look. Same thing, for a project, we went to CES in Vegas. And we were working with a launch of product and so. And then on the day after, we thought that why not go 570 kilometers detour around the Death Valley? Because why not? You should find an adventure and everything, especially if you're working this much and investing everything into it. These 2 people, they still work at the company because they love it. Because they joined me on this trip. And you bond with people and you get something out of it. So we took a little detour of 6, 7, 8 hours something. All right, work-life balance. I don't think it's much of a work-life balance. You should just mix it, because that's the only way to start up a company. It will be a lot of work, so make sure integrate everything in it. The other one is the thought that counts. Have you heard of that before? I think you have. You should have. It's quite tanken som räknas på svenska. That is a little bit crap, I would say, because the idea and the thought, it doesn't count at all. It's not worth anything. And I think that you're going to end up in this place too and find that the idea is just the first little seed to do something. It is not the same thing as actually building a company. And you shouldn't be afraid of sharing that idea with people, because it's building the company that's hard. Coming up with the idea is not so hard. And people are quite often protected. I have this business idea. Yeah, sure, let's share it. Like, no, I'm not doing that. Do you want to invest in it? Like, no, not really. It doesn't work like that. I started a few companies more than this Technocredit. This is one of the companies. We had an idea to transform the yachting industry and built this fully digital cockpit solution for it. And the idea is not so tricky, but to do it is quite tricky. But we managed. This is one of the first exits we actually managed to do. And we sold this company for a medium-sized 8-digit number. It's quite a lot of money. And we spent quite a lot of time to actually build it. And we had thought through everything from how to build it and actually how to market and launch the product. And we knew when we built this that all the yacht builders, they can't buy it from us because we're too small. We don't have worldwide support. We don't have anything like that. And then we knew that we can't sell it to the big ones either because they're too proud or they just don't believe it. So we figured out if we launch this, everybody wants this. We knew that. So if we launch this at the big boat shows, the Monaco Boat Show and the Cannes Yachting Festival, and also in Miami is another big one, we knew that all the yacht manufacturers, they will come and they will look at it and say, this is what we want, because we asked them already. So we knew that they want this. And they came and said, this is what we want. And they also brought the big ones, Garmin and Navico and Volpenta, and said, like, look, this is how we want it. You said you couldn't build it like this, but they can. Why can they do it? And the big three, they were standing there like, yeah, but you can't buy all these guys because they're too small. And they were like, yeah. So what happened is if one of you big guys is buying us. And then we had like 6 weeks, and we got the deal too, because they both were like, oh shit. So we got a bid from both. And you can build the company. I think there's a little bit too much talk about building this app that is going for end consumers. I think there's a big opportunity, especially in Gothenburg, to build companies and entrepreneurship that is targeting industry. Because industry is also struggling, and industry is having a lot of money. So they're willing to invest and build stuff. I built another company called lecture+Q. Anyone knows about lecture+Q? Look, there's people know about it. lecture+Q is a machine learning based bookkeeping tool. So this is quite diverse, it's quite different from the other one, but the technology behind it is sort of the same. The reason we choose bookkeeping, the full administration, is that it's tricky, it's hard. And the reason you want to go for something tricky and hard and expensive to build is that you can figure out why other people can't manage to do it. If it's too easy, if it's too like, oh, this idea is so easy. Okay, why isn't it already out there? Because everybody else is failing in doing that one, so you missed something. But if you go for something complex and connected to the industry and so, it's much easier to understand that the reason people don't like bookkeeping, payroll, and invoicing is that everything, it gets too complex. But if you only do invoicing, we have 20, 30 competitors. But for the full suite, we don't have it. So we took this one, did machine learning, so it's a very easy system to use, and we combined it with a freemium model, so you don't pay anything for it, and then you have a growth looking like this. Investors like it just like this, or slice like that. They love it. And they were basically earning money on credits. We are a broker for credits, you might say. And the last one, I built a company called Pants Augmented. And we're right up in this company. So we're building an analog smartwatch with streaming data to a watch. The reason we're doing this one is that we're trying to build a product that is in par with how affiliates and ambassadors is working. That is Instagrammers, for example. What are they taking photos of? How are they communicating with their audience? And we tried to build a company and build a product that is in line with that one. And it looks like it's working. So basically, we're streaming data. We have windsurfers, and with a mobile app, you can select a theme. That is that if you're a windsurfer, it will show a certain type of data on it. And you select that theme, you select the position you want, and then the watch will show that data on these little gauges. The reason you do that is that this is connecting to the interest of the buyer. I buy the watch because I'm a windsurfer, and I talk about windsurfer. So when people ask me what I do, I say I'm a windsurfer. Okay, are you going to go windsurfing now? No, but I'm still a windsurfer. The same thing with surfers are very big identity for people. So we try to use technology to connect to that one. This is the same reason that the Instagrammers in surfing industry is very big, because people are looking for that. They like to consume that type of data. They like to be in the story of being a windsurfer. So we try to connect this one. And the last little thing I'm going to talk about is the Silicon Valley way. Have you heard of, have you got any response or any advice that you should do it the Silicon Valley way, or the startup owner's manual, or have you read any books about this? How to start a company, how to become an entrepreneur and stuff. Come on, you must have read any book. Yeah, a few of you have read a book. It's good, you should read a few books. You learn a few things. I think if you're about to be an entrepreneur, you will hear about this. You should do it the Silicon Valley way. Over in Silicon Valley, they do it in this way. They test stuff. They A/B test. They do the lean startup. They do all of these things, and you will get this advice to do it, which is very good, but it comes with a little thing. And the thing is that running a company or starting up something and trying to use these methods, in US, you usually get around maybe a seed, or a seed is maybe $2, $3, $4, $5 million, something like that. That is what you get. You guys need to pay for basically here to get. So you can get that very, very early in US. That means that all the methods that they are recommending is in line with getting that budget and having 30, 40 people. And we tested out now, because we call a lot of people and we do have some money, so we tested to run the launch and the ambassador network, especially launching the ambassador network. How do you get people to sign up to our watch, to become an ambassador? So basically what you do is that you hack, so you get a lot of email addresses and contacts, and you sort them based on what they do. So you know who to address. And then you A/B test the emails you send out to these people. And we tested even misspellings in the email. Because if you get an email, and we put in, it said you only need, but we spelled only with a P, because P is just next to O on the computer, on the keyboard. So we said, yeah, P-N-L-I, yeah, only with a P. And the thing is that when you read that email, you read it a little bit more like it's written by someone to you. It's not a spam. So it converts better. So we tested so many different things. How do you get people to convert? How do you get them to read the email? How do you get them to understand the message? How do you get them to sign up? And you test and test and test and test to optimize it. And we got very good numbers. We're signing up a lot of people. And doing this is how it looks. So every morning we have we had a Panzer Launch Madness morning meeting. And we sit and do the statistics and doing the metrics on the board and talking about the strategy, what we should do, and having sort of a 45-minute walkthrough. And we have the staff sitting here and doing all the tasks, and we have a Trello board with everything that should be done, and we sort this every day and going through it. It's quite a lot of people. So basically during 4 weeks, this is what happens. We burn through 1,384 hours. And if you're having a company, you need to pay salary for those hours. So just to set up the ambassador network, the Silicon Valley way, or the method that they put. A lot of people here, and at Chalmers and at other places will say that you should work in this way. That's quite costly to do. It's good if you can do it, and if you can afford it, it's very good. But think of that. That's advice. I got that so many times. So that's why I'm telling this. That so many people told me to do it in that way. And then the next day they said like, yeah, we can invest 250,000 crowns. It's like, it doesn't work. I can pay maybe 3 monthly salaries with 250,000 crowns, maybe 4. But it's not in line. So we burned through 4 weeks, 1,384 hours. That's me, basically. Hope you learned something.
We have to turn them all off.
You want me to stay or leave or?
No, please stay. We have more beers, so we do.
Yeah, more beer.
Would you really put over Q&A?
Yes. But if anyone has any questions, the microphone, I can repeat the question. See if it works. Does it work? Anyone having any questions? One over there.
What's the hardest thing you overcame and how it made you better?
Once again.
What's the hardest thing you overcame in your business and how it made you better? Like the moment you wanted to like give up, or it was like, oh my god, what we do now? And we were like sitting, coming with ideas.
Okay, the hardest.
What was during your life?
The hardest thing? Yes, see if this works. Okay, the hardest thing. We can skip it. Do you hear me anyway? Yes, okay. So the hardest thing I think is that money. Money is very, very difficult, and money is very powerful. And the thing with money is that for a company, money equals calories. So whatever you want to do, it will burn through calories. And if you don't have any calories, you can't run fast or far. You can go very short. That's just the basic thing about companies. And people don't understand that. Some people do, but quite a lot of people don't understand that. They think about it's two different things, but it's not. So when you're running out of money, you're running out of energy, and then you need to stop. And you can continue yourself, but you can't do more than 16 hours a day, and then that's it. So I think, and I've been running this company, or a lot of companies, so long, so I've been through 2008, 2009, where basically all money just disappeared. And it was very hard to run a business. So I think that's the learning about the power of money is important.
Which method are you using to find the niches where you're locating your businesses in? For instance, the watch, smartwatch niche with the influencer.
So if we take the smartwatch, for example, the analog, it's just a classic. The watch is a timepiece. It's a piece of jewelry. It's not a smartwatch. It's a piece of jewelry that we, through technology, try to connect to people. And then we're looking for two things. So we're looking for an audience which is having an interest, which is very digital, so we can find a data source. So right now we have basically two different models. We have one which is ocean sports based, because we know that people, the surfing industry is gigantic worldwide. And we know that these people, they have a very strong interest, and they have good influencer network and digital. They are chatting to each other and they're following people and stuff. But they also have a good data source, is weather data, so it's easy to get that data. The other one is more targeted towards entrepreneurs, and we're trying to follow online media. It's basically not as powerful. We thought it was brilliant, but it wasn't. And we thought it was brilliant because we are hooking up to Shopify and Google Analytics. There's Shopify down there, that's why I'm pointing at it. And Google Analytics and a lot of other different tools to track how your e-commerce is going, or how your website, how people is coming in. Because we know entrepreneurs, they will talk directly about what they do. That's the first thing they talk about. So what do? I'm running this e-commerce. I'm importing stuff from I don't know where. So we're following that, and you can show the statistics. It's quite often vanity metrics, but it's important for people. I had in total 1.2 million visitors in my site. It doesn't tell me anything, but it's just a talking piece. So it's good information to power this piece of jewelry. The bad thing is that the entrepreneurs, or the influencers in this space, is not as good. Because the influencers is very successful. And if you're very successful, you're less keen to sell my product. Because you're running a big company, and everybody's following you because you're running a big company. The surfing industry is brilliant because we have all these surfers. They take beautiful photos, and they're basically broke because they're surfing. And they have all of these followers because they love the photos they take of surfing. So they're very open to sign up to it. So you should look for that match. It's usually a two-sided thing.
I think couldn't you apply that for the fashion industry? Because I guess a lot of girls who are on Instagram might want to know how many followers do I have, how many likes on that post,
Yeah, you can.
how many views on Pinterest or whatever. I don't know what they are,
But we also wanted the product itself to actually have this digital hook into it.
yeah, but it could show these numbers, like numbers of followers, likes, whatever,
It could.
on your watch.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue we have with the fashion industry is that the watch is quite big. The reason the watch is quite big is that it's a lot of technology inside it. So we couldn't make it any smaller. And it's a little bit too big for women. We know that, but we couldn't make it. We tried very, very hard. So it's not as good targeted for women.
Yes, two questions. As basically, are you applying a lot of what Daniel Wellington did with the watch?
Not really. Daniel Wellington is a
with
genius.
The followers, I mean, with the followers and the.
Of course, we inspired
Are
by
you-
Daniel Wellington. Daniel Wellington, you know about Daniel Wellington? Philip Tisander, I think, is the guy who built this amazing company, a moneymaker in Sweden. He's producing very cheap watches, so to say, or very affordable watches, and they're very affordable to build. And so he has a big margin, and then you figure out that he is selling them through Instagram network and affiliates and ambassadors. Very, very good. We don't try to copy this guy because there's so many doing it.
Yeah.
But we are interested in it, so we try to make the product itself connect to it. Because his watches is basically not connected. They could be whatever piece of jewelry. So we thought we need to leverage on something to be able to have any sort of success. So we try to connect the product itself to the source and do it. But we're inspired. But not
Yeah,
trying
I
to
was
copy.
not insinuating that it was a copy. And another question,
That's a good question.
Yeah. Did you move from Shanghai to Shenzhen for this project actually? for the watches?
Not only, we start up in Shanghai. Shanghai is very hard city to build the company. And we had a big issue with recruiting people in Shanghai. Because in Shanghai, it's very, very fast and people are changing work all the time. So it's hard to get people to stay for more than 6 months. We have and I know many other companies having the same issue. It's a little bit like if people, they don't want to stay because it looks bad in your CV. I can't work here for more than 6 months because then people will start asking, ooh, you worked for the same place for 2 years, what's wrong with you? It's the opposite of Sweden or Western world. So that was a big issue. And then we moved into Shenzhen because Shenzhen is all the technology, whatever piece of technology you have, it's most likely a car key or a phone or whatever, a computer, it's built in Shenzhen or in Guangzhou. So we wanted to go there.
First of all, thanks for this talk, very interesting. And the little text, the description of this event said you spend a lot of time thinking about the problems that humans face today. And I wonder, from what I saw, I didn't,
That's good.
maybe I did get it wrong, but do you have any projects that solve the existential problems humans are facing today? Or is it just about
You mean
lifestyle?
fixing the world or that sort of problem?
Maybe I read it wrong, but for me it came across like you're also interested in that you think about.
I am. I think it's what we're trying to. I think that what's missing in fixing the world today, in most people trying to fixing the world, is that they are too kind, or they're trying too much, I think. So quite often they're building something that doesn't scale. And I think that we can't solve the issues with the world by being a little bit better because it won't make a difference. What we need to do is we need to combine that part with the power of pure capitalism and entrepreneurship to get that massive scale of stuff. And of course I'm looking into that. It would be super fun to work with and invest in it and try to change the world. But I would be looking into something that could scale into millions.
What about the mobility solution for elder people? The wheelchair?
It's good. I'm actually running a company called Golden Ridge Robotics. And have you anyone heard of that one? No. It's a Chinese startup. It's building an autonomous wheelchair for Chinese market because China is growing very fast. There's a lot of elderly people, and basically there's not enough people to push them around. So it's an autonomous wheelchair. So I'm a little bit into that.
I have a question why you work on so many different ideas. Why don't you just stick to one idea or a couple of them?
It's a good, it's a good question. I think that it's connected to that. First, it's connected to the money equals calories. That if I had a lot of money, if I would do an exit, and when I say I did an exit with an 8-digit medium-sized number, it's quite a lot of money. But my team, with only 50 people, they burn through sort of 150,000 crowns a day. So if I stop and start working with one idea, I burn through a lot of money quite fast. And this watch, for example, when we started working with that one, that affected us quite heavily. So I can't afford to do that yet, to swap and go into one idea. And I still want to do these startups. So I try to invest in and work together with other entrepreneurs who's actually focusing on that idea. So we have one entrepreneur. I'm running Technicredits, so I'm owning Technicredits 100% with my wife. I'm a co-founder behind the Pansarventet. I'm only owning half the company with another owner. I'm a co-founder of Bookio. There's 2 more co-founders who is running the company now. And the same thing with the other companies. So I try to do it in that way.
We have several hands popping up at once. I've seen your hand a few times now, so we take that first, and here on the side with the microphone, and then we continue from there.
Okay, thank you.
Gentleman at the back.
Thanks. The question is around intellectual property. So how do you protect it? How do you work with that area?
Basically, you don't.
Okay.
Because lawyers is anyone a lawyer? Lawyers is usually, they don't understand what service is. They think they do, but they don't, because they sell on fear. They don't understand this themselves. I don't know, I can ask you. But usually they sell on fear, and they think they have a good service, but people buy from them because they're shit scared of getting sued. That's why they pay them. Not that they want to pay them. And lawyers is usually having a protective mindset. So they will want to protect you. And the least thing you need starting up a company is to be protected. You don't have any value to protect. You don't have anything. You need to get out there. You need to get the connections. You need to get people to believe in you and invest in you. And I've been running companies, and I have maybe 13, 14 patents, something like that. And I've been applying patents together with customers or by myself. In the beginning, I did it by myself. It cost a lot of money, and it kills your idea, because they will force you to don't share your idea, and you need to do exactly that.
So you invest in it eventually before you sell?
It's hard. It's good if you have a patent, but if you have a patent that is of no use, you can keep it. If you have a patent which is very valuable, MasterCard, they don't care. They will just kill you in that case. They will throw lawyers at you until you die. So you can't protect it. You can't start a company by running a patent to it. It's I don't know, there might be more, but my advice is like, okay, I'm sorry, it's not going to help.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. I want to connect to the first question you had, the capital equal to calories.
Yes.
Can you just explore on that? Because, it's very difficult to get capital for things that you believe in. How did you make it? How did you...
So in the beginning, I think that the best is if you start a few guys together, or girls, and you start working together as much as you can. I would try to speak loud so you hear me. And because then if you can get the money from somewhere else, if you can pay for your rent, if you get a little bit of money from your parents, or CSN is a very good thing, or something, that you can run for that for some time. But as soon as you start hiring, it will cost you a lot of money. And hiring people in this country is quite expensive. It burns through quite a lot of money. But at the same time, you can't change the world by being just 2-3 people. It's very, very hard. And of course, there's a few companies who started on WhatsApp. There was a single guy building a little chat app because it's not so complex. And then it became very popular. Everybody started using it, so it's very valuable, and it sold it for billions. I would never ever start a company like that, because when he started WhatsApp, there were 10,000 other people starting similar companies who didn't succeed. So it's basically, if you want to start something, a new social network, and you think that's a good idea, it's basically the same thing as buying a lottery ticket. Because it's so hard, and it's so much randomness into making it work. It's much better to build something that is very hard to build. And in that case, you need to build it because it's hard, and you can understand other people, they fail because it's hard. They didn't solve the main issue, they didn't invest in the time to actually build it. Then you need some money and calories to build it. Was it an answer for your question? This is engaging. People like this discussion. You're the one with the mic, so you need to point now.
I'm thinking we've had a lot of questions from this side of the room.
In terms of your recruitment processes, do you do anything unique to kind of get the personality that you're looking for? And as a side note to that, is your wife's personality complementary to yours or very similar?
Oh yes, very. She's a very hard worker, I would say. She's never giving up. So I usually give up at 1 in the night, and then she's sitting at until 3, 4 in the morning. So she's much harder worker than I do. I'm usually the one standing and talking like this because I like it. And it's quite easy for me to do it, so I think I'm at least medium good in it. But the other question was recruitment. And recruitment is two things. One is basically, okay, how do you get the funnel into your company? How do you reach out to people? And you can reach out through this one, and you can go to your, don't use recruiters because they are not that good. And basically recruiters is basically just having a fixed set of contacts, and then they're rotating the network. So if you're hiring recruiters, they will try to recruit the same person a year later to another position. So recruiters is very expensive and then used by Volvo and other big companies who don't know how to hire as well. But Volvo is quite good at hiring, but there's a lot of companies not so good. The other thing you should do, so funnel in is one thing. I won't tell you exactly what we do, but we're quite good at it. The other part that I can tell you is that you should invest everything you can in the culture and your company. So we thought of that, okay, we value everything like a recruiter. One recruitment is like 120,000 crowns maybe, which means that building a climbing gym, that cost me 250,000 crowns. Okay, I basically only need to hire 2 people, and that's some zero game. If I hire 4, it's very good. And that wall is very good because people get up there and like, wow, this is amazing. You have a climbing gym. Like, of course I do. It doesn't cost anything. The same thing with a stage, and we do all investing everything we can to have something other to bet on. Because you know, Volvo, they are trying very hard and they're paying much more than I can.
Does that create brand ambassadors for your kind of companies as well that sing your praises and you retain
Yeah.
as much out?
In the beginning, I don't think you have too many brand ambassadors because you're so small. But you can do everything else. And you shouldn't. People like to be honest. So you shouldn't just buy the services, go to some campsite somewhere. But you can do so many other things together. And they'll love it. Buy them a pizza and make sure they understand you appreciate what they do and so on. And that they will feel that experience. So our strategy is to get people in the studio with a beer in their hand, sitting like this, listening to someone and like, wow, this is cool. And then they're coming back the next week and so on. Maybe climbing with someone because they're climbing or they're doing something else, playing video games or something. And then for us, we're thinking, because we have a continuous loop of recruitment, so we're thinking that the good people, it's just a matter of time when they're swapping. Because they may be in a good position now, and then they get a new manager, which is a pain in the ass. And then it's the right time to move. It's a long process.
There was one out here, one at the back, and then I think we have time for maybe 2, 3 more questions.
You decide. I drink
Then
beer.
we get to the networking.
As a successful entrepreneur, what would you say are your most important personal strengths, like character strengths, and how did you develop them over time?
I was looking for who was talking. So,
Yeah,
what,
so the question was, what are your most important character strengths, like personality strengths, and how did you develop them over time? Because I think it's an important part of being an entrepreneur.
It's tricky. I think that you should be good at something. I think that's very important. You should be very good at something. Otherwise, it's going to be hard. And then you should be aware of what you're not so good at. And you should find other people who's... I started out as a programmer too, and my favorite language is actually MATLAB. I like image processing in MATLAB. I know that's a little bit weird, but I like that. I think it's fun. I used to know more image processing in MATLAB than I did in Photoshop. But then, being aware of what you can do and not do, and I get frustrated when it's not happening a lot of things at the same time. I can't concentrate for that long time. So I have to have people around me. My wife is one of these people, and my CTO is also super good at focus and getting things done, because that's not my strength, really. So know your strength and know your weaknesses. And have a strength. If you don't have a strength, you're...
Gentleman at the back.
Yeah, I liked your criticism of the Silicon Valley way. What's your playbook instead, or what do you recommend to replace that with?
So it's not a criticism it's not wrong, it's right. It's the right thing to do. If you can pay people 1,384 hours a single month, not for building the product, only for managing a affiliate network, then it's a good thing to do. So the books are right. I think it's more about the advice you get from people. And the advice you get from people is usually from people who never did it themselves. They read about it too, so they don't have experience and they don't understand this money equals calories. How hard is it to get there? But you should do it your own way then, and try to figure out. I don't say that you shouldn't figure out the way of understanding if people want your product. That's the first thing to do. But doing that by test it, then you should have significant statistics and test it with A/B testing and so, whoa, now you're talking a lot of money. This is expensive. But just figuring out, do people actually want this? Or the other way around, can you actually deliver this?
So your hand a little bit earlier.
Have you ever experienced failure, and if so, like, how did you deal with it?
Oh, many, many times. So don't die, I think, is another good advice. Stay afloat. Don't die. Don't burn everything you have, because you need to rebuild so many times.
Yeah, but if like the calories are burned, then it's like often easier.
I think you die, so don't do that.
Done.
So what we do now is that the ideas we're investing in, we're testing so many ideas, and we can afford to test 10 ideas simultaneously, and we do quite a lot of research. So the watch, for example, we had the idea for it, we had the logic for why it would work. We looked for technology suppliers who could do it. We looked for an entrepreneur who could run the business. We looked for someone who knew suppliers and manufacturing in China. And when we saw that, oh, now we have everything, now we can actually jump on a train and start doing it. But I ran into the wall many, many times. But I always had this other company in the background, so I could reboot and start over again.
I think last question here, then we have a networking.
I can stay here and talk.
So Joel likes beer, we have lots of beer, so we can keep him here for a while.
I don't drink that much beer though.
But. It's okay. So stick with your questions. I just want to mention the fact, if everybody here who is on our team, you can stand up, raise your hands. We have these white here. So if you're interested in learning how to sign up, what is involved, come talk to one of us. We have Joel here, we have
That's it.
Michael, is he, has he gone?